If you've clicked on this thumbnail, you're probably wondering whether these coolers are a worthy purchase or a bit of a flimsy gimmick. I mean, a lot of it seems too good to be true because for a fraction of the upfront cost, for a fraction of the overall space, and a fraction of the power usage, they claim that they can keep your drinks cold in a similar fashion to what a camping fridge freezer can. And so, I decided to test whether its performance lives up to its marketing. And so in this case, the model that I'm testing, it is the XTM 12V Thermoelectric Cooler Heater. And I actually tested this in 3 different ways. And so the first test being in its cooling factor, the second test being in its insulation factor, and the final test being in its heating factor. Although that's something that I can't really imagine I'll be using too much. And then after I completed these 3 tests, I'll show you how physically big this item is. And I'll put it into the back of my car and into the middle back seat of my car so you can get an idea of space comparison. And then I'll also put it next to a camping fridge freezer just so you have a bit of a real world idea of how big this item is. And so, with all of that out of the way, let's actually get into the tests now. So, test number 1, how powerful is this at cooling things down? When I first initiated this test, the ambient temperature outside was 24.2 degrees. And if you're American, that is 75 Fahrenheit. And so I decided to plug this in, and the great thing about this particular model as well is that you can plug it into a direct current 12V socket, or you can even plug it into a 240V AC socket. After an hour, it managed to cool itself down to 21.7 degrees, so a 3-degree drop in 1 hour. After 2 hours, it was 18.7. After 3 hours, it's 16.6. After 5 hours, it was 13 degrees. And after 6 hours, it was down to 9 degrees. And this seems to be going pretty slowly, so I decided to leave it until the 12-hour mark, at which point it achieved a temperature of 6.7 degrees. And so this fridge advertises that it can cool drinks down to 20 degrees cooler than the ambient temperature. And so from this experiment, this claim does appear to be true, except it took a very long time to get there. I mean, pretty much half a day. So I'll talk more about the results after I do the other 2 experiments. And so at the completion of the cooling test, I basically left all the stuffing that I had inside the cooler just to maintain its temperature. And then I basically just left it unplugged for 12 hours just to see how much of the temperature it would hold. And so from leaving it overnight, it went from 6.7 degrees to 17.2 degrees. And so its insulation actually wasn't too bad, especially when you consider it didn't have any ice packs or anything in there. It's just basically just a couple of soft drink cans and a bit of packing material. And now we'll move on to the final test, and that being how well this warms drinks or warms whatever you need warmed up. And so the starting temperature was 17.2 degrees because I started it straight after the insulation test. And after 1 hour, it was already 31.1 degrees. After 2.5 hours, it was 40.6 degrees. After 3.5 hours, it's 43.3. And after 5 hours, it's up to 45.2. And so from this point onwards, I basically have already proven that this does have a pretty powerful warming ability, so I didn't really feel the need to test this any further. So now let's talk about the results of these 3 experiments. As far as the 3 results, there was a not so good result, an okay result, and a good result. And so first with the cooling, obviously it would be ideal if this was a little bit more powerful. I mean, it achieves the cold temperatures at a much slower rate than what a camping fridge freezer could. And for its insulation, it held its temperature pretty well, and for its warming, it was actually surprisingly pretty good. And so, naturally, of course, this does not perform as well as a camping fridge freezer. But with that being said, it only uses a fraction of the power, it's only a fraction of the upfront cost, and it's only a fraction of the overall space. Out of those 3 issues, if 1, 2, or definitely 3 of those things are important to you, well then this could be a suitable option and it can work for you. The only caveats that I've mentioned, however, is if you wanted to keep your drinks cold, I'd also pack this in with cold materials, whether it be ice or ice packs or whatever. Or if you don't want to do that, you'd have to allow 12 hours for the cooler to get cool. And so now let's talk about physical space. And so its dimensions are 56 centimeters by 27 centimeters by 32 centimeters. And putting it into a metric that you can understand, that is basically the size of 14 soft drink cans or 12 liters of hollow space. And so for a medium SUV, this is pretty much the perfect height to be an armrest. However, if you have a vehicle smaller than a medium SUV, you may be a little bit too big for that middle seat and you may need it to actually take up one of the passenger seats. As for the boot or the rear cargo area, as you can see from this footage here, it easily fits, no issue at all. And here's some footage now of it sitting next to my camping fridge freezer so you get an idea of size-wise just how much of a contrast it is. And so now to summarize my final thoughts on this cooler, or pretty much any cooler warmer for that matter. This is pretty much the middle ground between a proper camping fridge freezer or an Esky, or some other countries call it a Chilli box or a cool box. And so who would this warmer/cooler be an ideal product for? Well, it is a bit of a slimmer middle ground. If you only need to keep your contents cold for about a day, I'd say it's more economical just to get an Esky and then just to pack it full of ice and use that to keep your contents cold. If you're going out for a week or more and you need to keep things consistently cold, then a camping fridge freezer may be the best choice. But if you're just going on a very long road trip, or if you're just going for like a camping trip that's like less than a week, this could be the good suitable middle ground, just that's enough to keep a handful of drinks nice and cool for you without having to go all too crazy about it. I really hope this experiment and this description of the product has helped in your decision making and whether you should get one of these or not. As per usual, thanks for watching, and if you have any of your own stories or experiences, please mention it in the comments. Thanks for watching, bye!